Why do you love crypto?
There's no other way to describe it. It is the most cutting edge part of marketing. There's more freedom than any other industry.
And that makes work not feel so much like work. It makes it feel like just another great part of your life that helps like shape who you are, why you're doing what you're doing.
You can take what you've already done that was innovative, throw it away and build something new.
You want to give someone something versus taking something away. Projects underestimate the power of community. Numbers are fake. The only thing that's real is culture and vibes.
Leadership is not a means to an end. It's just a calling on the way to shaping the reality of everyone else. What are you cost signaling? How have you done the hard things to show that you've done the hard things? If you have a cool identity as a brand or anything, and you stick to what your guns are, then eventually it's going to work.
Economics.
Welcome, Bhaji.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Are we between two ferns?
I guess we are. We can do, well, between a Rubik's
Well
Cube
done.
and a game controller, which is kind of, I
Very
guess,
crypto.
appropriate for crypto, right?
Perfect.
First off, I just want to say thank you to our Illuminati overlords for allowing us to do this interview.
Don't
I know
overthink this hand symbol.
I know that your second name's Illuminati, right?
It is.
Tell me where that's from. That's such a great name.
Yeah, so people think it's my pseudonym for crypto. And if I was to do that, I would be the most bold person in crypto. But actually, it was my given name, and it was made up just for me. So I'm the first and the only Illuminati. My parents are huge hippies. They traveled the world. They wanted to give me a unique name. So they made up my first name, which is Bhaji, which is short for a Bhajan, which means devotional song. And then they didn't think their last name, which is Roberts, went well with my first name. So
I
they
see.
made up my last name.
I see, because I
Yeah.
thought Bhaji is an Indian
It
influenced
is,
name,
yeah.
right?
And they went to India. They loved India. They thought, let's give her a Indian
Amazing.
name. It's also a very popular onion dish.
I see.
So I spent a semester of college in London, and my nickname was Onion.
Onion.
Yep. Ran with it. I make people cry. I just have to lean into it and
Yeah.
own it, and then it becomes a thing.
Yeah, gotta
So
lean
then
in.
with Illuminati back then, like social media hadn't proliferated the conspiracy around the Illuminati. So it was just enlightened and illuminated and a very nice
see.
nice meaning. Yeah.
I see.
So my name is Bhaji Bliss Illuminati.
That's a great name.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic
thank you.
name.
It works
'cause,
well. And the
then
first
when you-
NFT I bought was the Illuminati.
I see, amazing. And then when you kind of went to college, did you get the call from the actual Illuminati? They were like, "Welcome, this is the first."
Maybe.
No,
Maybe, yeah. If I told you though.
I mean you can't tell.
I can't tell you.
That's fair enough.
But it is funny. I used to get like a lot of Facebook messages of people asking if they could join the Illuminati. And then I started getting LinkedIn messages of people asking if they could join the Illuminati.
Amazing.
So I've had some fun with it over the years.
I see. And you got loads of time to start your own Illuminati society, right? Because I know there's been a big change recently. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So tell us what's happened.
Well, we're rebranding Centrifuge to the Illuminati.
Yes.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
I mean, you could rebrand RWA to NWO. And then like New World Order RWA. I think that's probably going to do well, I think.
I like it.
That's
I like
fantastic.
it.
Is this your first
What's the ticker?
action as CEO, is rebranding Centrifuge to just Illuminati?
Truly.
Illuminati assets or just Illuminati?
How about the real world Illuminati?
Real world Illuminati. Like the previous ones were just two in the shadows. You're just going to go full, we're going to set up like a big building. Everyone turns up and you can sign up.
Yes.
Maybe a
yes,
TikTok
Yes,
campaign.
yes. I like it. I like it.
But no, congratulations. It's
Thank you.
amazing. It's a big step. And so did you always want to be the CEO of a RWA company when you were growing up? Or did you, were there other things that you were interested in? What would you be doing if you weren't here?
Yeah, it's a good question. And it was kind of an interesting path to get here. And up until 7 months ago, I actively did not want to be a CEO. I always had a very comfortable role as like the right hand to the CEO. So working really closely with the CEOs. My career spanned early stage tech. So I'm usually the first person on the go-to-market side, working closely with the founders, come in like 5 to 15 employee pre-seed or seed and help bring the company to market. So understand who the audience is, who we're selling to, how we can differentiate ourselves, what channels will work, how we want to ultimately scale from 0 to 1 and beyond. And that's been across a variety of different industries. So started in fintech, which is actually ultimately, I'll get back to that, but how I know the founders from Centrifuge, because it was the company they started before. And then did some like MarTech and then did product management software. So always very, very early stage. But I would come in and I would work really closely with the CEO and be a sounding board for strategy, for vision, for how we can differentiate ourselves against a competitive industry. And then always like how we can bring technology to these antiquated industries. So in wherever that might be, it was always a different use case, but we're going against the grain and we're selling them this new way to do what they've always done, which can be scary and daunting, but it can also be really exciting and rewarding. So finding out the right way to connect with who we're selling to and help them understand the vision in the future and why they should want to change their process and what it will help them achieve if they do that. So I really like that role, the second in command. It's safe. It's easy. You can influence strategy and direction and vision without ultimately being accountable for it. So I had kind of fallen into this like safe space that I felt very comfortable with. So when the conversations came up around CEO of Centrifuge, initially that held me back a bit. I thought, I've never seen myself in a CEO role. I've actually loved this second in command role that I've gotten very comfortable with. And then I talked to a lot of friends and advisors, and they just asked me a lot of questions about why I didn't see myself in that role. And as I started talking it through, I realized that there wasn't really a reason that I hadn't made that step, other than that I really had respected the previous CEOs that I've worked for in the past and the founding team that I've worked with in the past. And likewise for Centrifuge. I have an incredible relationship with Lucas, our CEO. He's been there for 7 years, just heads down, grinding, like traveling 80% of the year, barely ever at home, going to every single conference, just doing the incredible work that was needed when we were so early in building the technical platform that Centrifuge is today, in a world where the institutions weren't ready, the infrastructure wasn't there, the product market fit around RWAs had kind of ebbed and flowed a little bit. We, in the early days, tested some esoteric assets. We did like supply chain finance and carbon credits and music royalties. Then we moved into private credit and did some structured credit products. And now there's been a real product market fit and uptick with treasuries and the fixed income highly liquid products that can be more composable and have greater utility across DeFi. So we got there, but it was a long and grueling journey. So Lucas originally took a few months off in the summer, did some time for himself, some traveling, tapped me to be in the interim role, and then realized that it's kind of nice to take a step back and just focus on what he loves, which is like product strategy, DeFi, the relationships that he's cultivated over the years with a lot of the large DeFi protocol founders. So being in a board seat, he's able to just do what he loves. And then I take over the day-to-day, the operations, the grueling work that he's brought forward over the years.
I see. And you said that, what was it like to get that first message? Were you expecting it, or was it just complete out of the blue for you? Complete
out of the blue. And I actually said no for about 2 months.
That's a good sign though, right? Because I think there's a great quote, which is like, good leadership is not a means to an end. It's just a calling on the way to like shaping the reality for everyone else, right? That's really cool. I think it's a good sign probably that you didn't want it at first.
Yeah.
So I think everyone who's gunning for it probably shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And a lot of my friends and colleagues advised me against saying no so often, and I just was just trying to do what was right for myself and for Centrifuge and for Lucas. And ultimately I wanted Lucas to come back, and we thought he was going to in the early days. But then as I was getting comfortable in the interim role, and as the team we were forming the team and building out the strategy, and I was getting really good feedback from everyone within the organization, and we were starting to move in this new direction and make some progress. It started to feel more comfortable. And for me, like when I removed the tag CEO and everything that comes with that, and just put my head down and did great work and empowered the people around me and helped like organize the chaos, which I've always done throughout my career. and got out of my head around the role and what comes with that, then it started to just click into place in a way that felt right and felt really
That's really
organic.
good.
And it's been really exciting. It's been awesome. Like the last few months have been just really working with the team and orienting people around shared goals and shared outcomes. One thing I've been focused on throughout my career, and I attribute a lot of this to the product management software company I worked at, was like creating an outcome focused culture and tying all of the work that everyone does to goals and trying to get everyone to orient around.
Not just rearranging chairs and stuff and being like, oh, we should change the title for that thing. Why? What does it do?
Yeah.
Like,
why are
what's
you
the
doing
external
what
outcome?
you're doing? Or like, you know, there's a weekly report that you're sending out and who reads this and what's the point of this? Or you're doing all of this work and what is it contributing to? So I think it's like in some ways.
What'd you get done this week, right?
Yeah, exactly. List 5 things.
Yeah.
My husband sent me that. He sent me a text. What'd you get done this week?
Yeah.
Right after the week that my CEO appointment happened.
And
we have a 2-month-old at home.
Right?
It was like the absolute best week of my life. You could have asked me that.
Yeah,
so
fantastic.
I thank Elon for that.
Yeah. Big up. You know how I knew that you were a CEO?
How?
Because when we were talking upstairs, there's a few things, but then it was your coffee order. I ordered a cappuccino and then I texted you being like, what do you want? And you were like, black coffee, no milk, no mercy. And I was like, well, okay.
Yeah, we got to trim off the fat and get right to the good stuff.
So much synergy with no milk coffee, right? I think it's just a signal. I think when you go to a meeting and you just have black coffee, it shows power, I think.
I did have to train myself on that. And I did that before the CEO role, but I thought to myself, like, it is a power move to drink just black coffee.
It is.
So this was like 15 years ago. I started just doing it.
Yeah.
I did the same with oysters.
Interesting. Well, you eat the shell, not the oyster.
Yeah, exactly. Hardcore. Yeah, I pull it open with my hands.
Yeah.
I also did the same with French 75s. I'm like, it's kind of a cool drink.
What's a French 75?
It's champagne with like a little bit of lemon and some vodka.
Oh, with what?
Yeah.
The lemon was like, oh, I can see that.
Oh, yeah.
And the
in
vodka
vodka,
is just like, that's hardcore.
So I'm like, okay, I want to be a black coffee drinker. I want to be an oyster eater. I'm trying with caviar. I just can't really get there. It's just like expensive salt.
That's what CEO stands for, right? Caviar Executive Officer. I think. Let's go back to.
But the outcome focused culture thing, I think, is like can be seen in 2 ways.
Yeah.
In one hand, it's like there's accountability and there's pressure and there's an expectation of having a bias towards action and like all the work that you're doing contributing to some greater good. But on the other hand, it also gives the team something to work for. Like one thing that I've always had good feedback on from my leadership style with my teams is that I like provide the strategic context of all the work that they're doing so that if they're just grinding and they're working so hard, they know how that work will contribute to a greater goal that we're doing for a company or the project or the whatever that might be. And I think that's a like pretty important and critical and relatively simple change for leaders is like take a couple minutes and in some of our weekly calls we have, I'll like just take the first 5 minutes for the marketing team and I'll update them on the strategy and the conversations and the goals and some of the bigger picture things that are happening that might not directly influence the specific work that they're doing, but it one helps them feel connected more broadly to the organization. 2, gives them context that in the peripheral will help the work that they're doing. And then 3, helps them feel how the work that they're doing, even if it's a couple layers below a direct contribution, does help push us forward. So taking that extra couple minutes and just providing context and oversharing in a lot of ways, of course, only what you can, but even if you don't know how immediately it might help what they're doing today, the value of having a team that feels really connected and really empowered and in the know and a part of the decisions that are making makes it just like a lot easier to do the work that you're doing.
It makes your team. You have full ownership. You know what's going on, even if it's not related to your direct job. It's funny because my background is medical before I got into crypto. And when you hand over something, you give everyone full context. Because there are emergent outcomes that they might see that you don't, even if their role is totally different. So I think that's great because then everyone feels ownership.
Yeah.
And there was a great video recently that I saw of people on a beach, just like amazing coordination,
Love
digging.
beaches.
Yes. Beaches
that
are good.
to my list.
Yeah. Beaches, caviar, champagne,
drinking
oysters.
champagne on the beach with oysters
and vodka.
And
Chase
vodka.
this. I mean, this is fun. We should definitely
Next podcast there.
Nest offsite is that. But the video I saw was people on a beach helping to get like a humpback whale back into the water. And it came from like immersion, like people just turned up, self-organized, did the thing and saved the whale. And I don't think that saving the whale is the right analogy for this, but I think in leadership and companies, you've got to have finite goals that people build towards and just have a win. Because otherwise you're just like, oh, this is the 6-month thing. And it's like, yes, you need a direction, but people need to have that feeling of progress.
Yeah. And that's what helps when you're working so hard. Crypto's always on. And you asked me earlier off camera, like how I balance family and work. And a big part of that is like loving what you're doing and knowing why you're doing it and feeling connected to the greater picture and the greater outcome that you're helping to achieve. And that makes work not feel so much like work. It makes it feel like just another great part of your life that helps like shape who you are and why you're doing what you're doing.
Because if you enjoy what you're doing, then it doesn't feel as much like work and you have to put the time in. I think one thing you mentioned upstairs I thought was really important was tell me about your feelings about being a CEO from a non-technical background, and then what were your worries at the time?
Yeah, and that was part of the reasoning of the first 2 months when I was saying no is I looked around me and most of the other founders in crypto are, especially within DeFi, they're either engineers who have, they invented the technology and they've been in the industry their entire career since it was founded, know it so intuitively, or they're from Wall Street and understand finance and have felt the pains firsthand. And my background doesn't conform to one of those standards. Rather, it's more focused on storytelling and go-to-market and positioning and, creating adoption for new technologies and building high-performing teams. And I, at first, felt like we were still in a position where we needed that deep technical leadership at the helm. And then over the course of the conversations, what we realized is that first of all, we have those deep technical leaders. We have an incredible CTO. We have an incredible finance leader who runs our growth and strategy. We've got the fintech crazy founder, visionary counterpart. So we have all of those pieces in place. And what we need going forward as an industry is like up to now and still, the technical excellence is critical, but going forward, it's how do we distribute that? How do we get it out to the masses? So now it's all about creating liquidity and focusing on distribution.
Yep.
So we have this foundation of incredible tech. And then the next big unlock will be adoption and getting that to the next level and getting that out to the masses. So right now there's a lot of activity on chain and in crypto, and we'll continue to drive forward the products and the vision on chain. But a huge focus is education for the mass market on Wall Street. So how are we bringing these products to a global scale, and how are we growing the pie overall? So ultimately, that's how we kind of fell into place. And the role that I play is it is focusing on the next massive unlock and the next stage of growth for Centrifuge and real world assets. And it's a very exciting time because this is our year. 2025 is the year for real world assets. It's the year for tokenization. The meme that institutions are coming, they're here.
Yeah. The regulatory landscape's really good.
Yeah.
Getting a lot better.
The tailwinds are incredible on the regulatory side. It's like the infrastructure pieces that we've been missing have been developed. They're in place. And now it's a matter of taking all of that momentum, taking all of that opportunity, packaging it, using it in our favor, and then growing.
That's a good. I like the what you phrase said, that packaging it, because up until now, like we were saying upstairs, a lot of crypto was just generally, oh, we've made this new thing. Here's some tech. It can be applied to anything. Please use it. Therefore, give us a valuation. Give us this token. And it's usually governance token emissions or something, and there's no real value stack. And then everyone kind of went for the modular the modular thesis, and they said, oh, we'll just have everyone do different things and then we'll link them all together and everyone's going to be happy. And then what you ended up with was liquidity fragmentation, unbelievable levels of standards proliferation.
Yeah.
And then it feels like if you're trying to go through each step, everyone takes a fee. Everyone's got to make money at some point, right? I think you're part of the new vanguard of Centrifuge is doing, have the whole stack, take the distribution, have the liquidity, supply and demand side. And I think that comes with also, previously it was, we're selling the Lego and selling the individual parts. And now the new generation, I think, is going to be, we've got the technical excellence, and with AI as well, technology is going to be commoditized to zero eventually. You need excellence, but the most important thing is going to be, well, if everyone's got more or less similar tech, then you have to have distribution and a good story. I mean, if we think about the biggest companies in the world right now, Airbnb doesn't talk about what's on the back end. They talk about the problem they're solving. And I think that's where crypto is going. We're getting this infra fatigue and the infra just kind of malaise of, oh, another L2? Great. Brilliant. What's that one for? Like, is it for making coffee? A coffee L2. Maybe that'll come soon. I don't know.
Black coffee, I hope.
Black coffee, exactly. Caviar and oysters, L2, I think, or an L3.
Yeah. And the other, I like the Airbnb example. And another example we talked about earlier was Apple, where they've always done an incredible job of selling the vision and the outcome. Like, their billboards for their phone cameras are a beautiful picture that was taken on their phone camera. Yeah. So I love that application of like thinking about how you tell stories and how you connect with the end user, where we don't need to talk about the dynamics of a smart contract and the technical depth of how what we're doing works. What we need to talk about is how it improves their day-to-day and how it improves their life and how it makes the work that they're doing better and easier and how it enables them to get their next promotion and rise to the top and be a leader and innovator in this industry. So it's more about reframing the work that we're doing in regards to the value that the end user gets from it, and like the why and not the what.
Exactly.
So that's kind of a shift that we're seeing right now.
Definitely.
And on the standard side, that's a big area we're working on, actually. So for Centrifuge, we've always focused on, or since I've joined, we've focused on like the broader community around Centrifuge. So we recognize that this is a massive undertaking, transforming the financial system, and we can't do it alone. And we need to bring together people across the ecosystem that provide different infrastructure, but also have different experiences and different perspectives and different relationships, bring them all together. So we started an RWA Summit, which we partnered with Coinbase and Circle and Galaxy and a lot of large players across the space to co-produce it. We did all the work, but they helped contribute the content and the speakers and the people that we want to bring into the room. We started a tokenized asset coalition, so where RWA Summits to meet in person and get in the room with the variety of spokespeople and folks that you might not be able to meet normally in the course of your busy life. The coalition is a way to maintain that content, produce really high quality educational content, do webinars, do podcasts, create that community in the digital way. And then our CTO actually co-authored a token standard, which is custom built for RWAs called 7540, which is now being used by, I think there's a few $1 billion on there. Maker uses it. Athena uses it. We use it, of course. So there's like this community that needs to be fostered in person where everyone has great ideas and contributions, and we bring them together and we like make cool shit happen. There's a digital community for putting out great content, educating the world, like things on the technical side, but then also like on the Wall Street side of like, you know, there's still education that needs to happen around the difference between cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology and like how to the context and the frame of thinking for the asset managers that we're selling into. And a lot of that content needs to be very thoughtful, very robust, and written in a way specifically for them. And then there's these standards. So then once we get this greater adoption, once we have the composability on chain, and once we're seeing growth and utilization of these products, ensuring that various protocols are using the same, building it in the same way so that we can see even greater adoption. So it's always been a big priority for us to focus on expansion beyond just the halls of Centrifuge.
Before, I think, 2024, 2023, what we saw was, you have all these people complaining on X, on LinkedIn, on everywhere. I've built this amazing thing. Why is no one using it? Why is no one supporting me? Why is the fundraising not happening? And I think there's an arrogance in technology that says, if the product is good, then people should always use it. And I think what you're saying about RWA Summit and this education outreach is just like any other business. The technology is one part, but it's about the alliances and the community you build on top of it. And that's both institutional and retail community of making people trust stuff.
Yeah.
And then I think that's going to win in the long term for sure.
And a lot of times, like, if the product is good, people will use it. I mean, there's been incredible examples of that working really well. A few, it's not the norm, not the expectation, but primarily on the consumer side and direct to consumer. On the B2B side, where you're selling into a large asset manager, a bank, or a fintech, and there's, or even DAO treasuries and DeFi protocols that we're working with, there's a lot of complexity and there's a lot of depth and there's a lot of conversations that happen. And often it's multi-stakeholder. You're bringing in people from all over the organization and it's a pretty systemic change. So something like that isn't, if you build it, they will come. Or maybe it is, they will come, but then it's, then you have 6 months of conversations around how it works and how to implement it and how to go from that. It piqued my interest and I want to learn and explore more about this to, okay, we're in a position where we can implement this and where we can actually have this change management and this process that's going to transform how we do our day to day. So I think there's important B2B and B2C considerations for both of those. But yeah, it went from the devs do something to the marketers do something.
Exactly.
And now I think we're like the pendulum swung in both directions. And now it's the devs and the marketers coming together to do something even greater.
I feel like the space has been kind of arguing which part of the car is more important, the engine or the wheels. And it's like, if you're arguing about this, you fundamentally do not understand cars because you need both, right?
Yeah. We shouldn't go back to horses.
I mean,
or maybe we should just skip ahead to some sort of flying cars. You don't need wheels.
I mean, that's a good point, but I think, we've really related you to everyone, right? Horses, caviar, champagne, and vodka. Okay. What else? But you said you want to humble yourself.
I have to clarify that I'm from humble means.
Yes.
Part of my experience growing up with hippie parents and in an untraditional upbringing, I had 3 years where I lived with no electricity, no running water, literally hauled water from the well. We lived in Guatemala for 2 years, moved, it was during the Guatemalan War, and there was, a lot of complexity with being Americans there. Moved there, followed the Grateful Dead around before Jerry Garcia died, and then he died, and then we settled down, which is probably a good thing in the end.
Did you get the Illuminati to?
Yeah. So was actually vegetarian until I was 17. So caviar wasn't a part of the pitch then. So that's why I had to train myself.
I see.
These oysters are kind of slimy and weird looking. I should force myself to like them.
I see.
But I think it does, having that upbringing has given me an appreciation for hard work, for really appreciating what I have and what I've been able to create for myself and my husband, my family, and my daughters. And I joke about liking the finer things in life, but I think because I haven't always had access to them, it allows me to appreciate them in a way that is fulfilling because I got there on my own.
I think that's really powerful because you got to just enjoy stuff when you want to. I think it's okay to like things. Yeah. And you don't have to hide it or do. I think there's the shift in culture and technology where it's just in general in society where everyone previously had this very formal thing, or you had to be, every politician had to be a certain way. And for better or worse, I think now in technology and politics and just culture, everyone's just doing their own thing, which is okay. I think that's a good thing, and that's fine. All right, I actually have a surprise for you. So this, actually, I'll come back and...
Is it caviar? Champagne.
So this surprise is because, so as I think I haven't mentioned, but this podcast is sponsored by Nuffle. And when I say sponsor, it means it's my job. So it's technically paying for this. So I wanted to give you this as a very stylish person. This is one of 10 ever made.
Oh my goodness.
I think it looks good. Yeah. Next meeting, next conference, I think. Yeah. What do you think? Yes, exactly. Amazing. Bhaji, thank you so much for doing this. It's been really fun.
That was fun.
Thank you very much.
You.
Appreciate it.